This is Sherry Mitchell. Welcome to web conference number 2 in EDIT 3318. Welcome to section 78, Sherry Mitchell's section, as well as section 72 with Shelley Scott. In this web conference, we will be going over modules 4, 5, and 6 to tell you the expectations of each of these modules, as well as the A&E. In modules 4, it's assessments, which will be due on June the 20th. Module 5 is technology integration, which is due June 24th. And module 6 is multimedia, which is screen recording, and it is due on June the 27th. During this same time, you will be working on your A&E preliminary lesson plan, which will be due on June the 17th. As well as your A&E lesson plan due on June the 24th, and that final A&E recording, which will be due on June the 4th. So let's start with Module 4, which is assessments and hot questions. So we want to go through this and look at what are some things you can do with assessments, as well as thinking about your questioning skills of higher order thinking. In this module, you will go through the presentations and tutorials on assessments and mind mapping tools. Once you have completed the tutorials, you will create a mind map about assessments using one of two tools online. One is MindMeister and the other one is Coggle. In the center of your map should be the words assessment. And off of that word assessment, you will be branching out with the 5 different types of assessments. Inside that, you will also include a definition for each assessment and then give 2 examples of each one of the assessment types. You're also going to collect current assessment data that you will enter on your mind map, and you're going to collect current assessment data from 3 struggling learners from your content area. Now, I know that you don't have students right now, so you could pull from students you've worked with previously, or you may have to search for some assessments online to find some data. Within the mind map, you will explain how you will use the data to adjust instruction with at least 2 practical strategies for each of the branches that is related to instruction. The mind map must include 3 visuals that tie to the content discussed. And then you make sure you set the mind map to public. Within each module is also a rubric and an example in the module. So let's look at a couple of these. The rubric on the assessments and hot questions, you will notice starts with your organization, your design, and creativity. Then there is a section on the hot questions and the creation of the assessment itself. So make sure that everything is in the exemplary column. I noticed when we were grading some previous assignments that there were several things that were missing from several of your presentations. If you make sure you go through the lesson and the information that is included within each module as to what is to be in that assignment, as well as go through this rubric, look through the exemplary column, and see everything that should be there to make sure you get the most number of points. So you want to make sure everything is aligned, you have your main idea, there's no spelling, punctuation, capitalization errors, and then make sure you're very creative in the organization of it, and you've included all the required contents, including the 3 visuals. Under the hot questions, the map has 3 types of hot questions: opening, guiding, and closing. Each question type should have 2 examples of questions you could ask. The map shows 3 student scores for the RTI and 2 strategies for each to improve the test scores. There are 5 types of assessments, and each one of these should be listed. So you start in the middle of your mind map, you branch off, and you make sure you include all 5 types of assessments, and you will notice all 5 types are listed right here within the rubric. Each assessment type should include an accurate definition, describe the assessment, and then give 2 accurate examples. For each thing missing on the mind map, you will notice on content, for everything missing is 1 point off of the grade. For the hot questions and assessments, it is at 5/10 of a point off, and then for the structure of it is 2/10 of a point. So this can add up pretty quickly, so make sure you check your rubric to include everything that is there. All right, so here is an example of an assessment, and this is an example that is there. So you will notice right here in the middle is the word assessment. We have branched off with the 5 types. You have an example of the definition as well as examples. You have your hot questions, you have your assessment data, and then you have visuals that are included there. So make sure you look at the example that is there to include everything that you need, that is needed for this activity. All right, in module number 5, there are 2 main areas that are of discussion right now that are being used in schools, and one is SAMR and one is TPACK. Each one of these are used to evaluate the technology that is being used within the lesson and how it's being used, at what level is it being used. Since these are the 2 main topics being discussed right now, both of these are included in the module so you can get an idea of what is included in each. You will only have to do an activity, though, on the SAMR. So looking at that, you are going to look at the SAMR, and let's look at that just a minute. Within the S, that one means substitution. So you are taking something, some form of technology, and you're substituting it for something that's already been done. So you could do it another way. For example, maybe you're showing a video. Well, you could show a video just on a TV screen. So you're substituting maybe a smartboard, projecting it on a smartboard for watching it on a TV screen. It could be that it's a writing assignment, and the students are writing inside a Google Doc instead of writing with pen and paper. You're just substituting technology for a previous activity that could be done in another way. With augmentation, you're actually enhancing the lesson in some way. So there may be some graphics within it. There may be some activities they do within there. They may be able to add some comments, or teacher add some comments. So something's been done to enhance the lesson. So at this, most of these are at the lower level of technology use. To get to the higher levels of technology use, you are going to go up to modification and redefinition. Modification is you've done the task significantly, there's a significant change within that task. So maybe they are collaborating within a Google Doc with someone in the classroom, maybe in the evening, or with the teacher, and you're posting it online, or you're doing something within the Google Classroom and you're sharing it, and you're able to work within a different environment than you're used to working. Or it could be that maybe you are creating, the students are creating a project, maybe a Screencastify, and they are creating a video, or they're creating something within Chatterpix. They have to have technology in order for that to work. So you have totally redefined the whole lesson with the technology that can be used. The last level is redefinition, and this is taking it to the highest level. So within this, you are recreating it to a new task, but you are collaborating with somebody in a different way. So let's say, for example, we create a Chatterpix. And now within the Chatterpix, once it's created, the students are sharing it online in another app like Seesaw so that parents can view it anywhere, anytime. Or they're creating QR codes and posting it outside the classroom. Or it could be that they're posting it on a website that the teachers created for all the activities so it can be viewed outside the classroom. So in each one of those, you've totally redefined the lesson. So you're going to think of the SAMR and how you can integrate technology, and you make sure you include the student expectation. And then you're creating 4 activities that move up the SAMR model. So here is what is going to include. You're going to have the 4 activities with substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Include the following for each of the activities. You include your curriculum as well as the TA text. So you go to the TEA website, you make sure you find the texts that go along with that curriculum, and you state the SC, including the number and the letter. And then you go to the technology application text, you locate what technology application tech that you're covering, and you include the number and the letter and the description there as well. Include the name of the activity, a description of how the students will share the product with the teacher, and then a detailed description with step-by-step instructions for completing each activity. Complete each section through every step of the SAMR model, the S, the A, the M, and the R, to illustrate the transformation of the lesson as the activities move through SAMR. There is a rubric that is included in here, and so here is and a template that you are to use. So if you look at this template, you will see it has each level, it has a definition. You are to include the TA and the curriculum text and your step-by-step instructions, and then there is a link to the rubric, so make sure you go through that link as well and look at what does it take to be exemplary. The last one we're going to go through tonight is screencasting. So in Module 6 for this assignment, you need to create an instructional video about a technology tool. So in screencasting, you're recording a video describing something you're doing, and that's going to be the use of a technology tool that is an educational technology tool. Any tech tool is welcome, but remember the content should be educational and of use in your classroom. Think of what you are presenting and make sure it is not too large of a task. And make sure you, for an example, how to create a table of contents in Google Slides, or how to use comments in Google Docs. So instead of totally going through a description of how to use Google Docs, including the Explorer tool and the comments and the sharing and the revision history, narrow it down to one of the concepts within each one of those tools. Your final video should be a minimum of 3 minutes, a maximum of 5 minutes long. So narrow it down to something you can do and make sure it's something that can be used within education and you are describing how to use that tool. All right, so you are in screencasting, you have a question or a hook to bring in your audience. You always start with some type of a hook. What is the purpose of this? How can they use it? What is something that could be beneficial for them in the classroom? Introduce yourself and the title of your screencast. Have an introductory comment that briefly explains your purpose for creating the screencast. Have an image or screen view, should be in good resolution. You have storyboarding, and you're going to post your storyboard and a script that you're going to follow. So within this module, there is a storyboard template. On that template, write out what you're going to do. Go through your steps of how you're going to do your screencast, and then you're going to post your storyboard as well as the screencast itself. Make sure the information is detailed, accurate, and presented in a logical order. Information should be paced appropriately throughout the screencast, and come up with some creative ways to model or teach the task within the screencast. Make sure you're well rehearsed. Think about how you are talking. Be careful not to say a whole lot, or make sure you're not saying, you know. So think of comments or things that we say a whole lot that we want to make sure we've left out of the screencast. Make sure your voice is expressive and it's free of some background noise. Your voice or yourself should be included. If you use a webcam, you can use that to record yourself if you want, but you don't have to record a picture of yourself as long as we have your voice for part of the screencast, because we want to prove that it is you that actually created that screencast. All statements should be correct in grammatical with grammar usage. The closing comment should include a brief summary of what has been taught of about 5 seconds at the end. Make sure you store it in Google Drive or you publish it to YouTube, and make sure that if it is in Google Drive that it's open for anybody to view with the link, or if it's within YouTube, you have made it public so that we can view it to grade it. At the very end, you should also include all of your copyright information. So anything within the video should have credits and copyright information, including give yourself credit for things that you have done. Some things to think about. Plan a question or an engaging hook. Plan your introduction, the title, name, purpose. Identify the breaks, transitions, and connections within your screencast. Keep in mind while planning that you don't want to cover too much in the time that you have. Remember, it's 3 to 5 minutes. Be sure that you write a script for your screencast and follow it. Be creative in how you show the tool. Be sure your information is accurate and followed in sequence. Gather all URLs and images before you begin. And then when you post the video, when you upload it for us to view, make sure you also include a copy of your planning documents. So here is your screencast rubric. Once again, make sure you look through the exemplary section and make sure you have included each thing that is within the rubric on the right-hand side for your screencast. So that's modules 4, 5, and 6. Also during this time, your A&E lessons, you will start submitting your A&E lesson information. I want you to keep in mind, several of you have been pretty late in posting some of your assignments. For every day that it's late, 1 point is deducted from your grade. So from now till the end, it's been pretty slow at the beginning, but from now till the end, it'll pick up pretty quickly. You cannot wait too long to submit your lesson as well as the A&E preliminary lesson plan, the A&E lesson plan, or the video upload. That can have a huge effect on your grade. So looking through the A&E lessons, ideally we would like the lesson to be recorded with students. However, we understand that it's summer, that's not necessarily possible. So it can be done with peers, it can be done with your students, or it could be done with adults in the home. You may complete this early, but you will still need to get the appropriate approvals for each lesson. For example, when you submit your preliminary lesson plan, we must approve it before you submit your lesson plan. And the reason for that is we write comments on areas of improvement. So if you had points deducted from the preliminary lesson plan, we've added things that you need to improve, then you can put those comments or you can make changes to your lesson plan so it doesn't affect the grade on each. If you receive if you receive 3 points on the preliminary lesson plan, you can proceed with your A&E lesson plan. But if you receive 1 or 2 points for it, then wait until it's been approved with 3 points and you can resubmit it to get a higher grade on that one. You can get up to 3 points even resubmitting, as long as it's on time. On your preliminary on your lesson plan, you must receive 8 points to move on to continue with your video. So let's look at these just a minute. Preliminary lesson plan. You're going to actually teach students for no more than 20 minutes. So anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes will be accepted without any points being deducted. Check the technology tools that are available for you to use to teach the lesson. You must use some type of technology tools. Your students must create or do activities with those technology tools. Choose your subject and your topic from your curriculum area. Use the preliminary lesson plan template that is included within that section. Find a creative, innovative way to apply the technology to teach the topic with your students, and then submit the preliminary lesson plan to Blackboard. Please ensure that your preliminary lesson plan has many details as possible so that we can make sure it includes everything that you need before you start the lesson plan. Look for approval and suggestions before you continue on. Check what types of technologies are available. Your technology integration should be beyond watching a YouTube video or watching a BrainPop video or using AirPlay or using a linear PowerPoint. Those will not be accepted as a technology lesson. You can incorporate those, but you must incorporate other technology. We have been through the G Suite. We have been through Smart Notebook and looked at some web tools. So you've looked at several already you could incorporate. Any of those can be used. Since you only have 20 minutes, you do not need to teach a new concept for 20 minutes. However, you do need to teach something for at least 5 to 7 minutes. The first part can be a review, but then you must teach part of a lesson in order for us to look at your higher order questioning and looking at the lesson plan and things that are included. How are you actually teaching that lesson? If you have an idea, you don't know how to implement it, please let us know so we can help. Think about using your interactive whiteboard lessons. Some of you've created those already. You can use what you've created within this, within your video and your lesson plan. So once you have incorporated the preliminary lesson plan now and it's been approved, now you can use the integrated lesson plan. You create it and you're going to use students, peers, and your children. Include your core TEKS as well as at least one of the TA texts. Make sure you list the number and letter and exactly the way it's written, including the student expectation. The student will, and make sure you list it. Now make sure on this, it is not, the student will review what we've done. That is not listed in any of the TEKS I've seen. So you make sure that it is directly from the TEA website. Check the TAP indicators for rock solid teaching. Submit the lesson plan and any other teaching materials files to Blackboard. And it should be 15 to 20 minute recording, and you only post this amount. I've had some post an hour recording in the past. We do not need an hour recording. We only want 20 minutes for your recording. This is an example of the rubric for rock solid teaching. So you will notice over here on the left-hand side, it says rock solid teaching. This is taken from the T-TEST, which is evaluation system with most of our teachers now. And you can earn up to 20 points for this. So it's very important you make sure you include everything here. So presenting instructional content, you go through step by step and you make sure it is included within here, every single bullet on your page. Notice there's also a technology component and each of those must be included. On this, we have included a link to the guidelines, which is on page 15. So for your A&E, once you have had your preliminary lesson plan approved, your lesson plan is approved, you record your video, make sure you name it, you're going to upload it to Swivel, and the naming convention on your A&E video should look like this, just like it does in the module, the way it's written under A&E. So you're going to have your instructor's name, A&E, edit class, and what session is this. When you upload it, you are going to tag it. So the tagging protocol, you're going to make sure you include pick or cue, technology, the specific descriptor like the first word, and then an explanation. And here is an example. So you used pick and you have visuals, an explanation from your lesson. and a short example. So you want to include all of those tags within your video as you upload them once they're uploaded into Swivl. And then you share that, and it will give you an opportunity to share it with your instructor. Use templates provided to evaluate a peer's video. So you are going to, once you've uploaded your video, you are now going to do a peer and a self-evaluation. So you have a peer see your video, and they have a template they're going to fill out over your teaching, and including each of the pick, the questioning, and the technology. And then you are going to evaluate it yourself. So include the templates that are there, and those are listed within the guidelines, and those are to be uploaded by July the 8th. So looking at this one more time, let's go back and let's look at the time frame for each of these being due. Module 4 is due June 20th. Module 5 is due June 24th. Module 6 is due June 27th. You will notice that your preliminary lesson plan is due on June the 17th. That needs to be uploaded into Blackboard within the next 2 days. A&E lesson plan, it is due on June the 24th, the same day Module 5 is due. And then the A&E recording, we've given you a few extra class periods to work on that. It is due by July the 4th. So there is and then you will have your peer and self-evaluation due by July the 8th. There is a lot of things that are due within the next few weeks. So please make sure you stay up with everything and you get everything uploaded quickly and correctly within the Blackboard. Notice on this web conference page, there is a link up here at the top to this presentation. If you will go to this link, the goo.gl/4 lowercase v, uppercase Y, uppercase D, uppercase U, and an uppercase K. When you go to that website, you have this video. So this slides presentation. So you can refer back to this at any time. I would recommend you go to File and make a copy, and then you will have a copy of it within your files if you would like to. If you have any questions, please email Ms. Scott or myself, Ms. Mitchell, at any time. We would love to help you or give you any feedback on any of these lessons. Make sure you also go back in the form and document that you have listened to this, you watched the video, because this is part of your participation grade. Thank you again for your time this evening. We've enjoyed working with you, and let us know if there's anything that we can do to help.